Welcome in. This is the Extra Points podcast with the college football experience. We are the college football experience. My name's Gus. That's Will. And man, what a wild week 2 we had. We had some upsets. We had some blowouts. We had everything in between, man. But I'm excited to be back here on the Extra Point podcast to break it all down with y'all and to go over our Pick'ems group. Will, man, what a week we had.
Yeah, man, it was good. I think majority of us had a pretty good week. Besides maybe a few of y'all. Um, it wasn't necessarily challenging with the games itself. It was placing them is what I had difficulty with. Because we did have some big time matchups that we were just unsure of: Alabama, Texas, Miami, A&M. So it was a fun week. Excited for week 3, but I know we're here to discuss week 2 and all the action that happened this past Saturday.
But before we dive into all the action, I just want to say, man, y'all need to subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Look at the links. I mean, look at our beautiful backdrop we got down below, man. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. You can listen, Spotify and Apple Podcasts, like I was saying, at the College Football Experience and all the ads that you see below. And let's go ahead and take a look at the Pick'ems group. I can pull it up right here, man. These are the results from week 2, man. You can see that I didn't have that good of a week when it comes to the total points, but I went 7-3. Ouch, my boy Cody down there hurting, man. He's been struggling this week, but he is more of a against the spread guy, so he has to get out of the mindset, man, of hey, this team can cover, but he also thinks they can win sometimes too. So, but I think he's going to bounce back this week. Look at Logan. Look at Logan with the 9-1, 51 points. The only game he missed was the Texas A&M versus Miami. That's one game that everyone missed. And we got the two-time champ Will Smith 9-1 as well. But of course, he missed the Texas A&M game. And Will, you finished 6th. You went 8-2 with is that 58? Oh no, is that 46 or 48? You have 46 points. So that's a really solid week. It it just stinks that you go 8-2, but you miss some of the higher up games.
Yeah.
That's just the pick'ems, man. That's just the
Yeah,
pick'ems for you.
I missed my 4 and 5, I believe, and
Hmm.
I went to bed in the lead. Fell
Yeah.
asleep in first place and woke up to finishing 5th. So
Yeah, because I
that
think
Auburn
everyone had
game,
Auburn in the late slot, but Cody. I
yeah,
think Cody and one other person may have had the Auburn game wrong, but yep,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
just a pick 'em for you, dude.
Cody had the worst week I think I've ever seen
Dude,
in the
him
pick'ems.
having this hard of a week on himself, that's honestly more impressive than what Logan did. Because it's hard to get that many games wrong. I mean,
Yeah, it is.
it's extremely hard to get that many games wrong, man. But that's a pick'ems. They just chew you up and spit you out. Sometimes they are ruthless. They are relentless, man. It is time to break down some games, though, man. Texas comes into Tuscaloosa and trounces Alabama 34-24, man. Sark comes in and shows why he's one of the best play callers in all of college football. What were some of your takeaways from this butt whooping that Texas put on the Tide?
The line of scrimmage. I
Yes.
think they dominated the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. I mean, they got to Milrow a bunch. I mean, he could
Mhm.
never get comfortable in the game. Um, their offensive line played well. I mean, they couldn't even get to Ewers whatsoever. And then they had way more explosive plays than Alabama. I mean, Ewers throws a beautiful deep ball, and former Georgia Bulldog JD Mitchell had a heck of a game, and Texas just was the better team that night.
Yeah.
Alabama just they got some stuff to figure out. This ain't the same Alabama team that we've seen. I don't necessarily think the dynasty's over and freaking out like everybody else is,
Mhm.
because I want to see more of a sample size of it. But I definitely think Texas is a better team, and I'm not going to say Texas is back because we know that
It's back.
Big 12 schedule is weird, and we just never know. They might show up on a Friday night, play somebody, and get beat. Man,
Yeah.
you just never know. So, I think the line of scrimmage was the big difference in the ball game.
Dude, I was so impressed with this Texas offense, and Sark finally has all the guys that he needs to do what he wants to do. He has so many weapons on the outside. Quinn Ewers has been able to develop. He has been able to mature. But it kind of like we were hoping that he has this whole offseason and saying, like, hey, can Quinn Ewers take this next step? And it looks like he did. He went 24 for 38, 349 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. I mean, and they walked into Tuscaloosa. And do you remember when Alabama, when they were in like the early 20 teens, like 2011, 2012, 2013, whenever they would go on the road and they would put a crowd to sleep and like they looked like they were the home team, that's what Texas just did to Alabama. Like they went into Tuscaloosa and physically dominated them. Kind of sounds like it took they took the crowd somewhat out of the game and they just controlled the game like you were saying, they got pressure on Milrow, 5 sacks, 9 tackles for loss. I mean, golly, they
Yeah,
they whooped them.
um,
They
you were talking.
just simply whooped them.
Yeah, you were talking about the crowd. This is one reason why we picked them to go to this game when we had to change the Ohio State stuff. The atmosphere was incredible. I mean,
Yeah,
we heard that Friday that atmosphere was incredible, and I'm excited to go see this crowd. I hope they're up, ready to go. I hope they win the rest of their games till Tennessee.
they
Um, I,
probably will.
I
I
hope they
mean,
win till. I mean, I hope they beat Tennessee too, but I hope they win the
yeah,
rest of their games till then. So it's a meaningful game, so we can
yeah,
experience that
peak.
atmosphere that was this past Saturday. I know we wish we would have went to this game.
Yeah.
Um, think we could have got some incredible film, but impressed with Texas. Excited to see what they can do the rest of this year. Let's see if they can make this playoff run and win the Big 12 before they head to the SEC.
There's one more thing that I want to talk about when it comes to Alabama. And you've kind of already touched on it. Their offensive line, we heard this whole offseason, we're going to get back to murder ball. We're going to be 3 yards in a cloud of dust. We are going to run it down your throats. There's nothing that you're going to do to be able to stop us. And kind of early in the game, they were able to move the ball. But then as the game kind of went on, Texas defense was able to adjust. Do you know Alabama only ran for 3.1 yards a carry? I mean,
Yeah,
that
their
was God, that was disappointing.
their running back room just doesn't seem as good to me. It
Yeah.
almost you would rather let Milrow just be the guy that carries it. He is probably their more natural runner out of all of them.
Yeah.
If I mean, just based off of watching off the 2 games I've seen him start and a few games I got to see him last year,
Mhm.
he just looks like a better runner to me, man. This is probably the worst Alabama running back room Nick Saban's had since he's been there. I mean, they're just not producing.
Probably. Yeah. They just don't have the dogs to carry it. Man, Colorado's staying hot. They're staying hot. They looked really impressive versus Matt Rule's Nebraska team. They kind of started off slow in the first quarter, but they were able to kick it up, winning 36-14. Jeff Sims makes me want to vomit when he plays quarterback. Like he really makes me want to vomit. Like
Y-
he's so
Yeah,
disappointing.
I think if Nebraska had better quarterback play in that game, they could have like challenged them or at least jumped on them in the first half
Yeah.
and could have been winning. I mean, um, we kind of saw what a good defense can do to Colorado, and they kind of stopped them. So it's going to be interesting to see what Colorado can do. They got them another win. They're going to go over their win total.
Yes.
That what was it, 3.5? They're going to go
Three and a
over
half.
it.
Yeah.
Nobody expected them to win the first game, and then some people thought they would lose this game.
Hmm.
So thought they looked okay. They didn't look as good as they did against TCU, but we kind of
Mhm.
knew this going into this game with a little bit better of a defense.
A This is a rivalry game too, so
Yeah, a little bit of
you
a
have to throw
rivalry
that in
game,
there.
and yeah, and props to Colorado and their fan base for showing up to their game and selling it out. I did see a lot of red though,
Yeah.
so let's see what happens when they play a team that doesn't travel well. If they can sell out their crowd and show up for Dion and them,
And
because
I
I know
mean
they got Colorado State this week and then Oregon and USC coming up. So
and I think they're at Oregon and then they get USC at home. So that'll be super interesting. I was still impressed with the Colorado passing game because like they're going to be explosive in the passing game, but it's just can you limit them because you're going to be able to stop them from running the ball. They cannot run between the tackles. That's been obvious within the first 2 weeks. So they're really going to have to rely on pushing the ball down the field. But I think they've shown through the first 2 weeks that they have the wide receivers to do it, and I think they've shown in the first 2 weeks that they have the quarterback to do it. So that'll be interesting. But also everyone coming into the season was, oh, can Matt Rule break his trend of having really sucky teams when he gets to a school for the first year? And it's really not looking like that
mm,
simply because
Jeff Sims.
Jeff Sims, they don't have a quarterback. He turned the ball over. I think he fumbled twice and he threw one of the worst interceptions that I've seen this season. I mean, just a super late ball on a little out route that he had no business throwing. He was staring the receiver down the whole way. I mean, just absolutely terrible. And I think in this transfer portal era, when you hitch your wagon to a transfer portal quarterback, your team's going to go as that quarterback goes. And I think that they just chose the wrong guy. And I think Nebraska fans are going to have to be patient. I think they know they're going to have to be patient, but
Well, look, you've been
in the dumpster for a long
bad for
time.
so long. So
So
what's one more year? I mean,
that's what I
it,
was about to say.
you gotta hit you gotta recruit better, the high school
Mhm,
kids better. You gotta find you a dude out of the high school so you can come and develop him, and then
mhm.
go find you another transfer guy that you can come in and be successful. Jeff Sims really didn't show us nothing at Georgia Tech. I mean, so I don't know what they were thinking. Obviously, they're better evaluators than me, so I can't sit there and say they did a terrible job evaluating him. But I I don't know. I probably would have looked around somewhere else and got me a different guy, or at least got me two of them, so
Yeah,
I
I
could
mean,
have me a different option. But I mean, you never know. He might have, he could have came out and balled out, but he just hasn't. He's kind of looked
yeah.
bad.
I mean, I think they were kinda looking at his intangibles and just kind of what he could be as like because he is a freak athlete. He can run the football. And I think they were kind of hoping that they could maybe put some pieces together and kind of be able to elevate him. But he's only been there for a couple months, so there's only so much you can do in that set time period. So we can see how Nebraska does whenever they get into the Big Ten play, but that they're gonna struggle to make a bowl. I don't see them at this point making a bowl because you had to go 1-1 in this stretch. But crazier things have happened. Do you think Colorado can make a bowl
Yes,
now? Yeah.
yes. I think they can. It'll be fun. They need to. They're fun to watch.
Mhm.
They bring viewers. They
Yeah.
bring people. They bring money. I mean, they are just Dion is fun to watch. He seems
Mhm.
like he's fun to be around. His son, Shador and Shiloh, they're fun to watch. And Travis Hunter is a dude. I
Yeah.
mean, I would love to see him New York before he leaves college football. I don't know if he can win it,
He
but I'd love to
eventually
see him
will.
being I'd love to see him be invited because I do think he is one of the best players in college football.
Yeah.
Um, and I think maybe he's going to have to score some touchdowns. He keeps dropping wide receiver. He keeps dropping touchdowns. He's going to have to score some touchdowns, and he needs to return a few punts. I
Yeah.
think
I for sure think he's a more natural corner than he
he
is
is. He
a
is.
natural wide receiver, but he's just such a freak athlete and he has such good ball skills and such awareness. And he knows how to expose the cornerback position because he is such a top tier cornerback that he knows how to break them down from the other side of the ball.
Yeah.
So, so that team's going to be fun to keep an eye on and
Mhm.
see if they can up. I don't think they're going to make any significant noise in the Pac-12, but I think they could upset. I think they could upset Oregon. I think they could upset a USC or like an
N
Oregon State or like a UCLA.
Yeah.
But we also don't know because those teams are so much more developed on the line of scrimmage
No.
that I think they could kind of sell out to the pass and just say like, "Hey, you're going to have to throw against 8 to 7 guys
Yeah.
in coverage."
No offense to Colorado this week, but man, the game day should not be there this weekend. You are
No.
missing the wrong Colorado game to attend. I mean, I don't know what the schedule looks like for Colorado USC that week, but that is the game you should have attended in Colorado.
Mhm.
You could have went to Gainesville this weekend and then went to Colorado for the USC game, and
Mhm.
it would have been way bigger because they might be undefeated at that game. Maybe one loss. I think it's gonna be one loss, but
Yeah, because I think they've always been.
still, yeah. I think game day's missing an opportunity there, and it is what it is though. I know
Mm,
why they're
see
going.
see, and I think the way Fox did it right when it came to Colorado. They hitched their wagon to them early and say, "We are going to these first 2 games to go ahead and get this hype out of the way to say, hey, if if they do suck, we don't have to worry about them. And then if they're good, then we can kind of ride the wave." And now you have ESPN is kind of jumping on early. I honestly would have loved to have seen College Game Day. I would have loved to see them go to Morgantown for the backyard brawl, Pitt versus West Virginia. That's the first time that that game has been played there in years. So I personally would have
Yeah,
loved to see them go to that
if
game,
West Virginia,
but with Pitt losing last week,
if West Virginia was this much better,
they would have.
they would probably have went. But West
Mhm.
Virginia is just and Pitt just lost. It's just
Yeah,
eh.
just
It's not
this
a
isn't the right circumstances.
it's not 2007 Pitt, West Virginia. It's
Yeah.
2023.
Hey, the 2022 version of Pitt, West Virginia was lit to start the season last year. That game was wild. Man, speaking of another wild game, Miami torches. I mean torches Texas A&M secondary to win 48-33, man. The the Canes were really impressive. I mean, that they kind of had a little cold start coming out, but Tyler Van Dyke was so impressive throwing the ball down the field, really pushing the ball down the field, and that that Texas A&M defense, which I thought was going to be one of the better defenses in the SEC, they kind of left a little they kind of left a little meat on the bone, man.
Yeah, it looks like they kind of ran out of gas in the game. We got to see what Miami is going to be in the future.
Yeah.
Let's see if they can do this consistently.
Mhm.
But dude, props to them. They played well. They caused some turnovers.
Yeah.
They started out the game with they got their punt blocked, and then Texas A&M scored off the bat. It looked like Texas A&M's going to win kind of in the first quarter, but we play
Mhm.
four for a reason.
Yeah.
And they just kept plugging along, kept doing their thing, and like you said, TVD just he torched them, man, through the air. He did a really good job. I was really impressed with their offense, and like even though their stadium wasn't even half full, they were like loud.
A little
They were
loud, yeah.
yeah, they were giving A&M fits.
Yeah.
Um, so I think if I was Mario Cristobal, I'd be like, "Look, guys, look what you can do. Imagine if we were full,
Oh, God, man,
dude."
that'd be a tough place to play.
Yeah, dude, it'd be a
Having
really
to come down there
tough
in
place
the
to play,
heat. I mean,
dude.
God,
The old Orange Bowl stadium
right,
with when it was full, dude, it was tough to play down there,
right.
especially in August, September. I mean, because it is so hot down there and the humidity's so high. But give props to Mario Cristobal. He's building something down there. They just need to give him some time. He's recruiting. He recruited well this last cycle. This cycle coming up, they got some work to do, but they're
Yeah,
still getting some good ball players and really impressive win. Don't know what's going to happen with Jimbo Fisher's future, man.
yeah.
You can't lose a game like that. and
No.
expect to keep your job any longer. Especially you got Alabama coming up, you got Auburn coming up, and you got Tennessee this year.
Yep.
So it's going to be interesting to see how their season shakes out.
Yeah. I just want to stay on this Miami offense for just a little bit. They scored a touchdown 4 out of their 5 drives in the second half, and they had a kickoff return in the second half too. So I mean, this was really kind of a tale of two halves. I mean, they they looked so impressive. Tyler Van Dyke, 21 of 30, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I mean, close to 400 yards. This Shannon Dawson offense, he looked back to his 2021 Tyler Van Dyke self, and I'm so happy because I want Miami to be good just because that means there will be so much more parity in the world of college football. And man, kind of transitioning to Texas A&M, they just didn't execute. They really just didn't execute. They kicked way too many field goals in the red zone. I mean, they were like 4th and 1 in the red zone with like in like the 15-yard line, and they come out of like a timeout and like they don't have everything situated, and then they have to kick a field goal. They get in the red zone again, and then they get a penalty, 4th and 6, have to kick a field goal. And I mean, they just didn't execute when they really needed to. And this offense still didn't look as explosive as it should. I mean, they only averaged 6.3 yards per pass.
I'm just wondering, are they running Jimbo's offense or is this Bobby
Yes,
Petrino's offense?
they are running because
Because
it looks like they're running Jimbo's offense, but you just have Bobby Petrino's calling the plays.
see, I think they need to run Bobby Petrino's offense. Because
That's the
then I
whole
was
reason
gonna
you
like,
brought him in.
well, because I was about to say, well, maybe they're still learning Bobby's offense, but no, they're running Jimbo's offense. You just
Yes.
got somebody else calling the plays, and that's just. I mean, I know Bobby's a grown man, adult. He's been in football for so long, he can learn the playbook, but I mean, just like a
Still.
quarterback, it still takes time to learn those plays and what works and what meshes well and what your quarterback can do well. They
Right.
did look better, but they got to
Yes.
clean up some stuff, man. I mean, you got to get your playmakers the ball more, and you got to stop turning the ball over so much.
Yeah.
You kind of set Miami up a bunch with that, with fumbling a few times. And props to Miami though. I mean, they
Yeah.
were popping them. I mean,
Bro,
they were
they were
coming
hitting
down.
hard. Those 2 safeties for Miami, the one that got hurt at the end of the game, Cam Kitchens, he got hurt at the end of the game. There's some big safeties. They were flying around all day long.
Yeah, man, they played really well. Hey, I might not like Miami very much because we recruit the same kids, but
Mhm.
I like it that they're good. They can be good, that they can challenge Florida State in the ACC. And then we get a chance to play them soon. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that they're going to be good again. It's fun. It's good for college football, and it's fun to have, like you said, some parity.
It almost seems to me like we're kinda going back in time when it comes to college football. USC's kinda coming back up, Texas is kinda coming back up, Florida State and Miami are kinda coming back up, Tennessee's kinda coming back up, so just goes to show that you just have to be patient, and all of this parity stuff is going to work itself out in college football. And the reason that I know that is because it always has and it always will. But that's a rant for another day. Man, this final score in this Ole Miss versus Tulane game, it's so deceiving. Like it
Yes,
is
it is.
so deceiving. They are able to pull away late, but I really wasn't that impressed with Ole Miss in this game at all.
Dude, they cannot tackle to save their
Worth a
lives.
cuss.
Their defensive line is not very good whatsoever. They
Mm-mm.
don't look like an SEC defensive line. They can't get pressure on the quarterback.
No.
They can't tackle a soul, and they can't cover nobody. So
No.
this is going to be a long year for Ole Miss, and their offense is going to need to average 40 something points a game to win some ball games because
Yeah.
their defense is terrible. And I was worried I was going to lose this game
So was
because
I.
I had them extremely high,
I had him at
and
10.
yeah,
I was
I was
sweating bullets.
yeah, I was really worried about this game. And Jackson Darton just
Dude,
didn't impress me much. He just didn't impress me at all. He didn't play
he
well to me, and
he is the reason that they won the game.
I know he is. He had a pretty good little fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Um, Lane Kiffin's play calling got a little better throughout the game went.
Mhm.
Um, but man, dude, that first half, he just wasn't impressing me at all. Jackson Darton was, and
Yeah.
luckily in the fourth quarter, he kind of showed up and played better.
I mean,
What you thoughts on it?
I would be sick if I'd be sick if I was Lane Kiffin. They ran 2.5 yards a carry against Tulane. You're Ole Miss with the best running back in the country, and you're
Yeah,
running 2.5 yards per carry. You go 1 of 13 on third down. You go do that crap when you go to Tuscaloosa in 2 weeks. Oof. I mean,
oh, they're gonna blow them out, dude, if they play like
yeah.
this.
I mean, they did not look good, and plus, like, you have everyone saying, "Oh, they went on the road to Tulane." You're Ole Miss. They're
I don't care.
Tulane without Michael Pratt, without
Yeah,
Michael Pratt,
without their best player.
without one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I don't give a hoot if he's in the G5. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Like, they should have put this game away a lot earlier. Wasn't that impressed with Ole Miss. Oh, like I said, they had me sweat. I was cussing them for a minute. I was like, "Dang it, Ole Miss, you're gonna lose me my 10." And I think everyone had them. One or two people might have had Tulane really low, but I think
Hey, that would have been a heck of a pick if somebody picked Tulane.
I think if Michael Pratt would have played, this game might have been just a little bit different. I mean, because Ole Miss was only up 7 with a minute 40 left in the game.
Yeah,
I mean, they kicked a field goal and they got, I think it was a scoop and score.
scoop and score. Yep.
Yeah,
He was
strip
about to
sack.
throw it. He was about
Yeah,
to throw it, and dude strip
yeah.
sacked him, and defensive end picked it up. Yep.
I mean, so this game was a lot closer than the score predict. Like I said, whenever we were going over the SEC win totals, I don't think Ole Miss is gonna cover that 7.5 win total over under. Man, Oregon, they were in a knockdown drag out like I was saying was going to happen. They were going into a hornet's nest. One thing that I didn't know is that all of the Texas Tech fans, whenever Texas Tech kicks off, they throw tortillas on the field.
Hmm.
Yeah. They throw tortillas on the field, and I was like, "Why are they trashing the field?" But they're like, "And they're throwing tortillas on the field. That's a new tradition here." I'm like,
That's a
"Okay."
terrible tradition.
I mean, because you
That's
gotta hire
terrible.
people to clean them up, man, but
Yeah.
Oregon was not phased by the tortillas. They won 38-30. This game was kind of a tale of two halves too. You had Oregon came out early, jumped out to, I think it was like a 14 to, I don't know, a 15-3 lead, and then here comes Texas Tech. Shuck, they ran him like, I think it was like 29 times, something like that. They ran him like a dog. They ran him into the dirt. But I was super impressed with Oregon here.
Yeah, to be able to go to in this environment and come out with a win, I thought they were going to give it away at the
Yeah.
end of the ball game. I thought there was an interception in the back of the end zone, but replay reviewed it and called it incomplete.
Mhm.
Thank the Lord, 'cause I had Oregon
'Cause
pretty
that'd
high
have been tough.
myself. Yeah, yeah. Everybody would have kind of, well, I would have won the week with Oregon losing.
Mhm.
So, I was kinda like I actually had Oregon low, actually, now that I think about it. That's why I was cheering for Texas Tech because I wanted to
Yeah.
win the week.
Right.
But I was impressed with Bo Nix. He played well going into this environment.
Yes.
Um, it's tough. Anytime you go play Texas Tech at night, it's always gonna be a tough situation. So, impressed with Bo Nix, impressed with Oregon to be able to come through with this win. And they got a turnover late, if that
Mhm.
was correct. That kind of sealed the deal
Yeah.
for them. So expect to see Bo Nix and them to make a little run right here. And
Yeah.
they kind of got over their first big hump. So let's see
Mhm.
what they can do in this Big 12, Big 12, Pac 12 season.
I mean, I think this was a big game for the Bo Nix Heisman campaign. I mean,
Mhm.
32 of 44, over 400 total yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He almost turned into Bo Picks at the end of the game again, but he
Yeah, he
he
did.
was out of bounds. I was thinking had the message. I was like, "Oh, we have a Bo Pick sighting. Here we go." But nope, ended up not being one, man. But I was super impressed with the fight that Oregon showed. I was super impressed with the fight that Texas Tech showed. That they showed that they were able to go toe to toe with these teams, and even though they are 0-2, I think they're still going to be a player in the Big 12. They might not win it just from what I've seen. They might not even make it to the title game, but they're going to upset someone. They play Texas to end the year. Could like they play Texas to end the year. So like you could have Texas coming in, they're undefeated and they're kind of sleepwalking. It's a Super Bowl for Texas Tech. Texas Tech's having to go into Austin. Hey, crazier things have happened. So look for Texas Tech to maybe upset someone and make some noise in the Big 12, regardless of their 0-2 record. There were a couple more games that we aren't going to break down in completely, just kind of highlight and skim through, man. I was having to stay awake. Like I was having to pry my eyes open to watch this Auburn Cal game because it was so late. But it finished about
Can,
1:45 on the East Coast.
can I say
Ugh.
something about that?
Please, please.
It is so dumb to me to do a ESPN2 Pat McAfee broadcast when easily you could have played the Cal Auburn game on that channel.
Yeah.
I had them start out at like at 6. I mean,
Mhm.
the fact that I guarantee majority Auburn fans watch that game. The fan base for Auburn is way bigger than Cal. You could have done it. I mean, Colorado
Yeah.
kicked off at 10 a.m. Man, that's local time. Like it's kind of BS to me that you make the East Coast stay up so late to watch that game. That I mean, really,
Crazy
Cal's not
good.
any good to me. They're not crazy good. They're not worth the prime time West Coast slot to me.
Mhm.
So I just think that time slot for Auburn and Cal
Was
was just kind of
tough.
ridiculous. Was just ridiculous to me. I think that was
Yeah.
a terrible decision by ESPN, by
Mhm.
the Pac-12. I know Hugh Freeze was pretty hot about it,
Yeah.
and he kind of let them know about it when that came out.
Yeah.
Because now you got Auburn having to fly back at 2 in the morning, and then they're getting back at 6 a.m. and essentially they lose a day.
Dude, Dude, if I had to guess, it was probably later than that thing because if the game ended at 1 Central Time, takes them 2 hours to get in the locker room, change, shower, drive half, to get on the bus, to get on the plane, get everyone loaded up. So they weren't taking off till probably 3
So
Central,
they didn't get home till like 8 o'clock in the morning,
8 in the morning. Good
dude.
God.
Dude. And then you
Horrible.
don't sleep well on a plane.
No, you sleep awful.
Yeah, so like you essentially lost a Sunday,
Yeah.
um, and a day that you watch film and at least get to hang out with your family a little bit. And
Mhm. Well,
I don't know. I think it's kind of
I
BS.
am
I think it was good for Hugh Freeze to win.
mhm.
I'm glad they won. I'm glad they beat them to go over there, their time slot, beat them, come back. Um, I'm ready to see though them play Texas A&M.
Yeah.
That's when I'll be able to tell how good they are. Because I didn't really I watched a little bit of the Auburn Cal game, then I watched the highlights, and I do think the time slot affected Auburn,
Yes.
especially late in that game. I think they were tired. I mean, I don't blame them.
Yeah, and I mean, we were able to go on the road, win an ugly game, show some
Mhm.
guts. Eugene Asante, that boy is a dog. He was flying around from the linebacker position, man. He was hauling, but he had so many tackles, especially towards the end of the game. He was really showing why who he is to the people who really didn't know. But man, I am just so glad Auburn was able to go on the road, win an ugly game, show some fight. I I kind of wish we'd have a little more stability at the quarterback position, but
A little
I
uncertain.
just yeah, I just think that Hugh Freeze was just trying to do anything to win the ball game. He was trying to do anything to will his team over the line, and they were able to do it. This could be a game that we look back at towards like halfway or 3/4 of the way during the season and say like, oh, this is when this Auburn team was like, oh, okay, this is who we're going to be. We are going to have guts. We are going to fight tooth and nail to win a ball game. And this maybe could be an early turning point for this team. Iowa versus Iowa State. This was your typical game.
So
I
boring, though.
Dude, just a super low scoring game. I think the over under was like 36 and a half. And I was telling one of my friends, Jackson, who is in the Pickens pool, I was like, if you can get this at 36 and a half, take it. Take the under, hammer it, because this is almost like an Army Navy game. You just blind bet the under just because you know it's going to go under. And it
Yeah.
100% went under. I honestly wasn't that impressed with the Iowa offense. I mean, I don't think I've ever been impressed with the Iowa offense, but just an ugly game. But Iowa does pull it out. Do you have any thoughts on
Yeah.
this
Yeah, I mean, it was like I just said, it was kind of a boring game to watch. Just
one?
you could tell Iowa State's missing players. Iowa's missing
Yeah.
a few too. They're both dealing with the same thing,
Hmm.
gambling situation. Man, it just didn't have nothing amazing
The
about it.
spark to it like it usually does,
Yeah,
kinda.
yeah, it just didn't have nothing like it usually does. No
Mhm.
excitement whatsoever.
Yeah.
Iowa kind of pulled away from it, and Iowa State just didn't have a chance in the game.
Yeah.
And but
I mean,
it is what it is, though.
they were kinda making some noise towards the end of the game, but, like, I never at any point felt like Iowa was in real danger
Yeah.
of losing this game. Man, from one boring game to another pretty boring game. Well, I don't wanna call games boring because it's college football. It's the best sport in the world. From a a game that lacked pizzazz there. The Illinois versus Kansas game on Friday night. Kansas was whooping up on them for about 45 to 50 minutes of the game. Then, for some reason, Illinois at the end of the fourth quarter, they're like, "Oh, I think we're supposed to be playing a football game," and they kind of turn it on. But this one was a no doubter from the beginning. We had people questioning my game choice making, but hey, Kansas looked good though.
Yeah, I was doing the radio broadcast for
Oh
our
yeah.
local high school team during
Sweet.
this game. So I was checking the score out throughout the throughout the game and try to catch a few highlights of it. Once I kind of saw the final score, or once I got into the late third quarter, I was like, "Ah, this game's over."
Yeah.
Uh, Kansas offense did what it's supposed to do. It played really
Mhm.
well. I love their quarterback. I like their black
Super,
uniforms.
super pissed I didn't draft him in the quarterback draft because he's
Yeah, he'd have been a
good.
good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Impressed with Kansas. We thought this game was going to be close.
Mhm.
Unsure about Illinois, but
This one should have been close, but Illinois decided to not show up until late fourth quarter,
yeah,
which
I
sucked.
think if they would have played like that the whole game, we'd have had a ball game.
Yeah.
That would have been it would have been a fun Friday night football game.
Yeah.
But
Man,
Kansas just kind of dominated and won the game.
yeah. And then we had Wake versus Vandy. I think Vandy was a little outclassed here. probably won't put them on the pick'ems anymore for the season because we've kind of got over the early season hype with Vandy. I honestly wish I could have put them on this week when they play UNLV, but that is what it is. This one had a really long rain delay, so it got put over to the small screen, but not really much to take away from this game besides Wake was the more talented team. But Vanderbilt showed some fight, which I'm always going to be impressed with.
Yeah, Vanderbilt made some plays. They got a stop on the goal line. That Wake Forest was getting ready to go and pretty much seal the deal, but they got to stop. So
Yeah,
they show fight. They show that they're believing in their process. It's just going to take Coach Clark a little bit
yeah,
to kind of get those guys in there to be able to win those type of ball games. Wake Forest is just a little better right
yeah.
now. You know, they still got all those guys that Sam Hartman was there with. So,
Hmm.
I mean, really, they just replaced their quarterback from last year. So,
Yeah,
still a pretty good little football team. They they were just better. I mean, they were better all around, better defensively, better on special teams, better on offense. So, this was just it kind of stinks that this got rain delayed and it got put off for so long we couldn't get it over with because it kind of the
yeah.
rain messed up a ton of games.
Especially on the East
Um,
Coast, man.
yeah, dude, it messed up a ton of our schedules and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
impressed with Vanderbilt that they did fight, they did play kind of well. They were in it for a little
Yeah,
bit,
yeah.
but Wake Forest just kind of pulled away like they
Just
should have.
yeah, man. And one from one rain delay game to another one, Notre Dame was on everyone's upset alert. I mean, everyone was like, "Watch out for NC State. We think they're gonna beat Notre Dame." Then Notre Dame came in there and thumped them, thumped the crap out of NC State. I was I'm always going to give a team props when they go on the road and do what they're supposed to do and look good doing it because you'll have those same people who are saying, "Oh, in NC State's they're going to upset Notre Dame." Then whenever Notre Dame thumps them, they're like, "Of course Notre Dame is supposed to beat NC State. That wins not anything. Going on the road and taking care of business and looking good, taking care of business." That's super impressive. So I was impressed with Notre Dame. I think they're gonna be a significant player in this year's playoff just because they play so many teams that are contenders.
Yeah, really impressed with Notre Dame. Love Sam Hartman. This is
Hmm.
the only thing I'm worried about with Notre Dame is I mentioned it in the group message. Their offense is just a little outdated to me.
It's a
I
little
don't
blah.
know why. I know they lost their offensive coordinator to Bama that they had previously.
Hmm.
I think he would have been a better fit for Sam because Sam was in a spread RPO type offense at Wake Forest, and I wish they were still in that type of offense for him because, dude, he can sling it around. He can throw it really well. Not saying he's
Hmm.
not playing well right now. I just think when we go play Ohio State or Notre Dame goes plays Ohio State, they keep playing this schedule. Or if they do make the playoffs,
Hmm.
can they make the plays? Do they have the guys to do it in this type of offense that they are currently running pro pro style type
Hmm.
offense? They're under center a lot.
So
I
so I've been impressed with their receivers so far because that was one of the biggest question marks. Like they look like they lack guys at the receiver position, but they have been impressive through the first 3 weeks of the season for
can
them because they played in week 0 too.
can they beat Ohio State?
I think they can. I don't know if they will. I think they could beat USC. I think they're gonna go into Clemson, and I think they're gonna beat Clemson. So
I think
I,
so too. I think Clemson will
yeah,
have a bad year.
yeah. So I think Notre Dame they could beat everyone on the rest of their schedule, but I don't know if they will. Just because those two teams in USC and Ohio State, they're both two of they're some of the best teams in college football.
This is the first year though their schedule helps them out. Like you can have one loss. They can have one loss to make the playoffs this year just because of their schedule. and what
Yes.
it is.
Yeah.
Usually they have to go undefeated.
Yeah.
With their usually they don't usually play all these teams on their schedule, so
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see. It's fun that they're kind of good, like really
Yeah.
good, because they finally got the quarterback to do it. Um,
Mhm.
so it's gonna be fun to watch in the rest of the year. I'm really excited about that Ohio State game,
Yeah.
and I hope game
That's
day's
in
there. I
2
hope
weeks.
it's yeah. I hope it's a big deal.
Yeah. That's in 2 weeks, man. And I'm super excited for week 3 coming up. Me, you, and Logan, the week 2 champion, will be back on Thursday night. And to break down what I think's a sneaky week 3. This is the type of week where you'll have everyone saying, "Oh, it's a sleepy
Yeah,
week." This is the week people get upset. Like this is the week whenever college football shows how good of a sport it truly is. So,
game you're looking forward to the most this weekend? Like, what's one that you? I know you're gonna be working that night, but what's one that you want to watch a lot? Like, it's on your radar.
ooh, I mean, sneaky game, kind of a sicko game, and I put it in the pick'ems. I I want to watch James Madison versus Troy because that's going to be for the Sun Belt. I mean, that's going to be that's going to be a super good game. James Madison is coming off of the win versus Virginia. Let me
Very
see the other
rarely,
one.
very rarely do you see the spread being 1.5.
That's why I put the game on there, dude, because the spread's 1.5. So I was like, this is for this. So like, these are the best 2 teams in the Sun Belt, which might be the best G5 conference top to bottom. Say like, I'm gonna have to put this game on there. I'm also looking forward to Pitt versus West Virginia because it's a backyard brawl. Um, and then Minnesota comes down to North Carolina. That's a game that I'm looking at. See if North Carolina and can Florida look good this week. That's something that I'm looking forward to too.
That is my only game that I'm looking forward to. I'm gonna wake up feeling sick and nauseous the whole day,
Oh,
anticipating that
because you have
game.
to wait until is it
7.
7 or 7:30?
Yeah, it's 7. Usually that game's 3:30 CBS, and we
Mhm.
didn't get the time slot this year. So,
You
um,
also get the pleasure of listening to Chris Fowler call a Florida game. Touchdown
oh
Gators.
yeah, this will be
First
him.
down
This will be
for the
him
Gators.
Saturday. Tennessee with the catch. Oh, he drops it.
For
Oh,
a 1-yard loss.
The Florida Gator defense did a good job right there. Made him drop the pass.
Dude,
Like, dude, he's
he hates
terrible calling
Florida.
the. Yeah, I don't know what his problem is, but what I want to see is Graham Mertz take control of the offense, facilitate the ball, get the guys open, get us in the right play, and
Mhm.
then I want to see the defense shut Milton down.
That's what I was gonna say. I really want to see the Florida defense get pressure on him and 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 then get pressure on him so it rushes his decision making. So the defensive line forces him into mistakes, like
The
forces him
cr-
to yeah
the crowd is going to be just
electric.
electric. This is going to be the loudest stadium he plays in all year, possibly. Um, we will
He
see.
does go to Tuscaloosa now.
We're louder than them. We've caused earthquakes.
Yeah,
They
true,
have not, and they're going to be a little salty coming in that game.
true.
Anyways, this will be the crowd will be a factor. Like you were saying, the defensive line is going to be huge. I think
Mhm,
our personnel is set up better this year to defend them than we were last year.
mhm.
Had a bunch of old, slow linebackers this year. We got a bunch of young guys who are fast.
Quick off
Defensively,
the
DB wise,
edge.
we are playing better on the back end. What kind of helps us is I know McNeese State is not good. Don't give me, I mean, they're not good, but they run that super spread out
Spread kind of
offense.
deal.
I
Yeah.
mean, dude, they were outside the hashes, close to the sideline. So we kind of got a week to kind of get lined up, what we want to do, what we want to
Yeah.
see, just kind of practice a few things. So I'm excited to see that. I want to see the run game get going too.
Well,
Want to see that against Tennessee.
we can break that game down a little more with Logan on Thursday, but I've had a blast here tonight with you, Will. We got to make sure to tell these folks to subscribe again, man. Subscribe on YouTube. You can follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can follow us on TikTok and Instagram at the College Football Experience. We're almost a month away from going to our first game, getting all that film down. I am pumped, excited to bring you all of that content. Will, you got any last words before we sign off?
No, I don't. Y'all have a great week. See you Thursday. Please follow us on all our social media platforms. If you're watching right below us,
Yes,
follow
sir.
us
That's
on
a
all
beautiful
these.
graphic that you made, Will. And I will talk to you Thursday, my friend.
See ya. See y'all.